Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you as usual from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, on this near 4th of July, 2025 here. I'm in the Extreme Studios, and I have the young 20-something Professor Pixel with me tonight to be continuing our television review. This time it's Columbo, Season 3, Episode 5, Publish or Perish. Pixel, I just got to come out and ask you, are you technically what they refer to as Gen Z?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
So,
Gen Z
so
is like 1997 to 2008 or something like that.
that makes sense. So you're of the generation now that's all about trauma, and really, this episode of Columbo is all about trauma because, as you can see, publisher perish has got multiple meanings. One meaning is you could work in the academic environment, and if you don't publish and keep the educational line that you're supposed to, you don't get funding. Therefore, you don't get past your associate professorship, and then you become a suicidal adjunct forever. Or it could mean that you got to get shit done and get it published because this Columbo episode, man, I've got a lot of mixed emotions about it. We've got evil Jack Cassidy back, and I'm just floored. There's some individual things there that are just phenomenal to me. There's some things that I don't like, and part of me was thinking maybe I should retitle this stream 10 Ways to Blow Up a Columbo Episode. I don't know what to think about it, but it's just Jack Cassidy. I don't need to say anything more about it. I'll dive into what I like and don't like. Let me get your initial take on this as you start to take us in.
Yeah, no, I've watched this twice now. Once at the beginning of the week and once today. And obviously it's a first time for you and me. But I was delighted to see Jack Cassidy's back because his episode is, it's the first one we ever watched. So him coming back almost feels like going home. But let's go ahead. Let's start talking about this episode. We don't get an opening gambit, really. We get an explosive conversation. Can we call it that? Jack Cassidy, playing the character Riley Greenleaf, is meeting a gentleman that is he's tossing bombs. He's blowing them up in like a junkyard, something like that.
Left-handed, sir.
That's
because
right.
left-handed is the sign of the devil. It's evilness and a subconscious manner, if you never knew. That's the psychological program that occurs in television.
Yeah, my mom believed that for a while. So yeah, I know I'm aware.
I'm just saying, it's all there.
But Eddie Kane, we'll learn that's his name. He is meeting Mr. Greenleaf because Greenleaf has some things to give him. Inside of this like clear bag, he has a gun. Hands it to him, and he hands him the key. And he's like, "Well, the prints are on it. Don't make sure to be careful. We're all good for tonight." And Eddie Kane's like, "Oh yes, and then you can publish my book. It's going to be great. I can teach all of the youth of America how to properly build bombs."
You know, RDV and I, who cover a lot of action films, we talk about themes and stuff. And we always go back to one of our favorite ones of the early 80s. That would be Rambo with Stallone in it, talking about PTSD and characters. And there's some before that. There's actually a film from the late 60s called, it has a character called Billy Jack. There was actually two films that kind of has it, maybe a little. But this guy's a bomb nut, and let's be real with each other here. He has trauma. He's got PTSD. He talks about like nuking hundreds of Vietnamese back in the war, and you're like, man, this is relatively recent. They just throw this up on primetime TV, and he's sitting there demonstrating all the different types of bombs blowing up and all that. And honestly, at this point, I really was not liking the episode because I thought, I don't want to see a psycho guy that's not going to be, a main character, or if he is, I didn't like him because he's got a weird look to him. That being said, the guy's phenomenal, and we'll talk more about him in some of his scenes. But when evil Jack Cassidy pops out of that Crown Vic or where the hell he's driving, and he's got that sweet, creamy, buttery leather jacket, I flipped the lid because now to add to his evilness and his ascot, and he's replaced that with a turtleneck and a thin pencil mustache. And this guy, in one of the first episodes we ever reviewed here on Columbo, this guy's just phenomenal. He's got so much energy and juice about it. To me, he's the gold standard I compare everybody to. And in more recent episodes, we talked about Robert Culp and I felt how great of a job he did, and particularly last episode. I think that was his third one. This is Cassie's second one, and I know there's going to be a few more actors or actresses that may have multiple appearances. So as we get down the road over the next year or two, finishing off this whole thing, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But obviously, Jack Cassie's up to no good because you see, guys, he's a publisher, and he can't have his protege, the guy he found writing bullshit stuff in some, stupid little newspaper somewhere, go off to the prime time, because that's his money bag, right? So pretty standard fare. Evil middle-aged white guy is going to whack somebody, and he's going to go through nefarious means. Now, I will say this: if this episode stayed with something as simple as what they're setting up here, okay, because I thought, man, the one thing we like a lot is watching the bad guy match wits up against Columbo. However, this is probably the most detail-oriented episode of all time, at least up to this point. So much so that, to me, it gets extremely confusing. And part of me wanted to subtitle this stream, Pixel Contact Lens. And those of you that have watched Columbo know exactly what I'm getting ready to get into. We'll talk about that here at the end. But I love the setup here. I love the way he looks. He's styling and profiling. And the next 15, 20 minutes or so are just tremendous, because what he does is he's got to create his alibi, right? So the whack job is going to go kill this writer dude around like 10:30 or whatever it was. So what does he do? He goes out and he goes to the opponent's publisher, the guy that his writer's going to go to, makes a big ass of himself and somebody drinking. He has all these great one-liners, all these expressions. I want to be Cassie when I'm watching this. That's how good he is in it. He even gets shit-faced in the bar, and he rear ends some people in there for his parking thing, but not before scratching his car and not before doing other stuff. And again, a lot of this seems like it's just anecdotal, but we know to watch because there's going to be one or two big clues out of it. But the way they did this, they went back to like Ocean's 11 kind of split screen stuff here. And frankly, I did not like this. I understand it, and it works. I did not. It was very busy and very like, okay, they're really trying something different. I'm not saying it wasn't effective, but for me, it didn't work. This is a very ugly episode to watch. It was not very pleasant to look at, visually speaking. And the writer, all I'm going to sit there and say is that's Mr. Mike Hammer himself, the actual real life actor, or I should say writer and all that, Mickey Spillane in here, who's the guest star. So a lot of great second level people in here too. So it's a good setup. It seems elaborate and long, and it is. But the best scenes are when Cassidy's doing his thing here. Catch up, sir.
I'm surprised. I really did like the delivery because it's all these things happening at once, so it makes sense.
But it's a lot, isn't it? Even by Columbo standards.
But it's a lot supposed to be going on at the same time. That's the whole point. But we do finally catch up to where this wacko, Eddie, he gets inside the building. He has the gun. He's wearing his gloves, and he walks up and he's like holding it in a very odd manner. But he walks up as the writer is, well, he's not writing. He is currently, what is it? He's doing like these tapes of what's already been written and then typed out, and then it gets delivered back. It's kind of convoluted.
No, so going back there, because that's a bit of an anachronism, right? And I like to point those out, being the 80s guy and you being the Gen Z guy. So back then you would type stuff by hand with your manuscripts, and you would send in somebody proofread it. You'd have a whole vertical integration process through your publisher that would handle that stuff, maybe help edit and change stuff, and then publish it, right? So this guy's basically writing softcore romance novels, porn for lack, not porn, but adult novels, let's say, for the female audience, which bought most of the books for the entire publishing industry's sake. Nobody reads anymore like they used to. So, that's why we hear stuff about going to Saigon and this and that and whatnot. And we meet Mariette Hartley, who was a babe in the 60s and 70s, the blonde there. This, of course, braless. I don't know if you caught that. But the reason what he's doing, he's some people will write it out, go through, hand edit it, do whatever. This is a guy that would talk it out and then record it so it could actually be transcribed by somebody else to do the work. So he doesn't have to manually do that himself. So that was an actual thing back in the day with certain types of stuff. Just like recording music was a total lost art compared to how it used to be. Now it's all digital. Back then it was all manual. The distance your microphone was and all sorts of stuff had a really big impact with it, how hot the room was, everything. So that was kind of, if you're not aware of those times and situations, I can see where someone like you would point that out. And I'm glad that we have those different interpretations of what's going on in the scene.
So, but the thing is that, okay, he is the writer. He's gone ahead and he's written all this down, but it's already been typed up. The first draft should be finished tonight, he says. So he's rereading everything that he's written, but he's not actually typing it up. He has the typist typing it up. And I mean, I know Eddie Kane's a nut job, but at least he did his
Well, here's the thing with this guy. I thought, okay, the guy's a weird looking dude. He's going to be one-notish, but he's basically being promised to, hey, you go and take care of me tonight. I'll make sure I take care of you. Here's your advance. He's going to publish this guy's, not a bomb making manual. It's a how to use them correctly. And there's even a joke he makes later on about, well, yeah, it should be pretty simple. All the right way to use it's on the manufacturing spec sheet. Ha, 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 ha. And this guy's actually got a little bit of a personality to him. I kind of liked it, actually. It was, instead of just being one notice, he had a little bit of depth to him until he did it.
No. I know. It's just, it struck me as a little bit odd because when he does go ahead, he gets shot. You can hear it on the tape recording. That's right there. It's kind of funny how we have the tape recording involved in 2 episodes in a row.
Correct.
But after Columbo comes out of the scene, he drinks some cold coffee that security guard was bringing in when he found the body. And he's identifying little things. There's a key on the floor. It doesn't fit the door. And then this young... this young, I was going to say Weasley. He doesn't look Weasley. It's just some young guy.
I'll call him a runner.
A runner. That is what he is. Yeah. Because he's running between. So he takes the manuscript to Mallory, and then he takes it back to the typist, and then back and forth. Anyway, he comes in, and I was supposed to be coming. Oh, he's dead. Oh no. He obviously doesn't know, but he also doesn't really care. And then Columbo, he has a scene where he's going against the tape recorder to hear the details of something in the background.
He notices the windows open.
And yes, well, you can hear that on the tape recorder as well.
Yeah, that's what the sound is, and he looks and sees it.
Because when he has the guy with forensics, the door closes and the window starts blowing again. And then we get to really the next morning, or not next morning. Jack Cassidy, he's in the park. He parked in the park rather than actually parking anywhere on the side. Why are you parked here, sir? Well, it's no parking on the grass.
That's kind of funny, though. He's chewing up the scenes with the cops. He's intentionally, having an alibi, but he wasn't necessarily shit-faced. He was acting. This is the beauty of it all.
Yep. It takes the 2 cops go ahead. They pull him on in. The next morning, he is brought in to into a interrogation room with Columbo. His lawyer is right there and is like, well, I don't see why he's being treated like some criminal. What's the bail? And we'll pay it. He's like, I'm not with the traffic. I'm with homicide. I need him to see if he can identify the voice, and he does. Oh well, that's Mallory. Can I go now? And then they hear the gunshot on there, and slowly it becomes even more real. And talking about how he was acting shit-faced, and he's acting here. He knew this was happening, but each of his characters also play actors in their way.
He's so good at going from being very, very pissy and very, very soft-spoken or like that, like in a flash of an eye, like literally in a couple words in a sentence, and he does this several times there. He's got quite a dynamic delivery about him. You and I had actually covered the first 2 seasons of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes with Jeremy Brett. We'd mentioned that as an actor, Jeremy Brett himself was bipolar. He got diagnosed with it a little bit later in life, and you could kind of see some of that manic energy in his performance. Cassidy actually died a couple years after this. He'd already had his kids and all that too, and he basically fell asleep with the cigarette in his mouth or whatever on those old 70s couches or whatever, and caught fire and all that. And he had some issues, not trying to rag on a guy, but mentioned to it. You can definitely see it with his intensity in his eyes. He's a smart guy. He's got a ton of juice with him and all that. And he does not hold back in here. Whatever you thought of him in the first episode, whether you liked it or not, just in terms of performance level, this guy's coming out shooting, guns blazing, all that. He's hunting bear big time. Because, yeah, you're right in the scene here. I thought he did such a great job of not letting Columbo know early on that he might be involved, where sometimes we think you and I've asked this not all the time, but a few times, hey, do you think this first exchange Columbo believes it's him or not? I don't think Columbo does. That's how good Cassidy is in the scene.
Yes.
I don't know what you think, but that's how I took it.
So here's the thing, though. Columbo in this scene only has the information that he was out last night. He doesn't know his whereabouts. There's a gun with his friends, and everything is pointing to him. But he's not convinced it is him.
He can't remember. He was shit-faced. This is the intricacy of this whole episode, ladies and gentlemen. Not only does he make it set it up like the cops will immediately come to him, it gets so elaborate it turns into I was being set up bit, which is the whole next part of the second act. It's tremendous. No episode has gone to this level of detail, and it'll get even deeper than that.
Yes. We do get to go ahead and have a scene with Columbo and apologies, something's bothering my throat. And his agent, Mallory's agent, who you've already pointed out, whether we're wrong on the first. But here, it's just trying to get some information. Yeah, she went ahead and saw Greenleaf last night, and everything about him being dead. Oh no, this is terrible. The next scene is with Columbo going back to Greenleaf's estate. And I have an ad here on Tubi, which is getting my way.
Well, the thing is when he goes to see him there at his place or whatever, he's like, yeah, I don't know if it does look like I might have killed him and I just don't remember or whatever. And they check the car out and everything, but that's when Columbo sees the scratch and everything too. But then the guy's asshole lawyer shows up. And I gotta give this episode credit. The intervention of the lawyer early on, I really liked, because this guy's not screwing around. He's that voice that we've always talked about in this fantasy world of Columbo, that, yeah, hey, you gotta do is shut your mouth. The lawyer's gonna get you off scot-free, right? I mean, and it's just Cassidy just playing it so well, like he's just like, yeah, I really just don't remember. Yeah, I was upset with him, and he's getting ready to leave me in a couple of weeks. And, the problem I have partly here, and I don't know if it was mentioned in this specific scene, is that when you have a writer that works for you and is under contract, he was basically contracted to have this one final script done, right? And like I said, we'll talk more about it later, but I think at some point here early on, and when I watched it a second time this morning, I clearly remembered, I just don't remember where, they mentioned about the insurance policy on it, because if somebody works for you and they die, well, you get insurance, and it was quite a sizable amount. So already my problem I'm having with the way this episode is being written is Cassidy is just tremendous in his delivery, but this is a guy that would let his lawyer do all the talking. And I still don't think Columbo's really sniffed him out yet, or at least, got his teeth sunk into him. The whole point of this unraveling into a setup is starting here, which I think is tremendous. I think it's great, but it gets just unnecessarily complex, and it leaves a lot more open-ended stuff to ask, like, some of the things we've already mentioned now, we're going to come up again here shortly when we finish. But to me, I just go, man, this guy's really smart as a whip, but okay, he wants the guy dead. He's got an ego involved. We don't really know why he wants the guy dead. We just know he doesn't want him to go over to the other publishing house. And here's the thing. It's not like him and the other publisher, even though he made a scene intentionally in front of them, they're nice people. And we'll see that later on in several scenes. And it's just, I just don't get his motivation, which sometimes we have, sometimes we don't. Like RDV's typing in chat about all the cliches and stuff. One of the things with Columbo is that, again, the murderer early on, but a lot of times it's an accident, and other times it's he does everything right, but he's just trying to figure out how to do it. Other times it's overly elaborate, and this is one of the few of them that really gets to that granular detail of all these possible different things. I don't know if you were able to pick up back to where you're at, but of course, Columbo's visiting a locksmith at this point here, trying to figure out some specifics before he goes and sees him in his office. So at this point here, he's wearing a phenomenal, oh gosh, what would you call this? A light pink shirt with a red tie and a gray patterned jacket. I mean, this guy, every scheme he's in, just dresses up great. And to RDV's point in chat, yeah, Columbo is always solid. He's a rock. But he's like the straight guy in comedy. How good your comedy is going to be based off of who you play against here. So you need to have somebody that does something totally different compared to others, or gives you a different look. And Cassidy's delivering in spades here.
So the thing that I want to touch upon is, because going into the locksmith, all that, that's fine. But what we're missing is, with that scene with Columbo going and visiting the estate after he's had Greenleaf has had a conversation with his lawyer. Oh, I might have done it. The lawyers, as they go outside, they're having a nice chat about where they go ahead and get their work on their car done. And you see, Columbo's he's starting to really like Mr. Greenleaf. And I think at this point he is convinced. Like, I don't see how this guy could have done it. And then the lawyer comes out and says, well, you're going to have to pin this murder on somebody else.
Why is that, sir? Tell me why.
He has a solid alibi that even he doesn't know about. Because everything that he did that night, spending the night in the drunk tank, scratching up somebody's car, bumping into him, and insulting the man's wife, everything becomes a rock solid alibi. He could not himself have committed that murder.
Well, if he couldn't have killed it, how could it have happened?
Isn't that a thing?
Well, hey, what did you think of that VW wagon? Those things are, wagon culture in the 70s was just so damn big, or we're like that. We don't see them that often, but boy, back then seeing that VW wagon, oh man, that was really good. I think they have one in Outer Banks. I think they're driving around something like that too. I don't know if it's a nod to the van culture, but there's just so many little things that you pick up when you're watching early 70s that I just pop hard when I see it, because I'm like, yeah, I remember that stuff. Really kind of funny and all that too, how he backed into him and says, oh, the way you're looking, lady, yeah, you need to call a plastic surgeon. I'm like, damn it, this guy's so good. Why can't they write more of the bad guys fun like this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man.
Also, it is nice going ahead once. I think it might be the next day, maybe the same day. It doesn't really matter. Greenleaf is in his publishing
empire,
as it were. His empire, that's right. The office building, and you have these mock covers on the back wall.
Oh yeah, the soft porn stuff. Yeah,
modern Aztec. What is it? Modern Aztec.
Was it mating rituals?
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
What tripe?
Yeah, I mean, you see Fabio's on the cover there, sir, before Fabio was big. Yeah.
There is a real reason why those covers they do catch your eye. Like,
right.
Something in the style as well as the subject. I don't know. But yeah, you have Columbo going over certain details with him. And at that point, he goes ahead and mentions, well, I can't figure out how the killer got in because the key doesn't fit the lock. And Greenleaf is like, oh no, that is a wonder. I'm not sure. I can't understand it. And so after that, he gives a call to Eddie Kane, and he says, well, we should meet up tonight. Talk about some finishing deals for your novel.
Mm-hmm.
He goes there that night. Eddie's excited, and he's like totally convinced. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. Teaching the youth of America how to properly use bombs. Totally
It's
legal.
kind of funny in a weird sort of way, right?
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
And this guy's like a little kid. He's like, yeah, I killed hundreds of them in Nam, and just, a lot of people just hurt themselves or whatever. So I want everybody to use their bombs correctly.
I want them to use them correctly. And honestly, he should have had his senses aware, because Cassidy comes in and he's wearing these black leather gloves. That spelling drop. That's right in front of your face.
Those are driver gloves, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, but they go ahead. They have a drink to celebrate, a drink that will prove to be Eddie's last, because Cassidy's poisoned him.
Let's pause for a second right there, because this is when it really starts finishing up. This is only I think it's 75-minute episode, not a 90-minute, so there's no fluff. It's moving along a lot. The one thing with Columbo and him talking there, and we're easily distracted by all the scotch on his table and all the posters and stuff, the book covers, is that if we can remember specifically when he got insulted people, the bartender, and got thrown out and all that, when he backed into the people in that VW traveling van, it was an older couple, and he's insulted the woman's face and the guy, and she's like trying to instigate, yeah, Ralphie, tell him, and all that. It would be two things. One, it could be if he's drunk, he doesn't remember it, so that's fine. That's the idea. But some people go, wait a minute, wouldn't Columbo know that he was involved in all that? Not necessarily, because the police didn't pick him up until he was in the park, like you mentioned, so they brought him in. So they didn't know that there was this car accident earlier, because that was intentional, because he basically gave the guy, they didn't call the police, and they didn't have cell phones, so he said, hey, here's my card. You call my insurance person in the morning, he'll take care of you or whatever. But he says it real snottily, like fuck you guys, and I'm out of here. And he gets in his car and he drives off or whatever. But the thing about it is, when he's talking to Columbo, he says, yeah, I'm glad those people talked to my insurance. And Columbo did not say that there was more than one person. So it's like, how would he know that, right? I mean, that's kind of like the first time he might just slip up a little bit with the information. And so the cliche stuff that RDV is mentioning, Chad thinks interesting, because to me, I looked at this character as a bit of a dope, because when he had his resurgence in the 80s, going to the 90s for a lot of the TV movies, he seemed kind of silly. I remember a dog. I remember the dumpy ass car and shit. But the thing I didn't get was like, damn it, why is he so nice and polite? This guy's a clown. He da-da-da. Because like him, I wasn't in Miami Vice and rough and tough stuff. But again, Columbo has a way of nicing you into slipping up. And when you know stuff, it's hard for you to not say anything. And honestly, we've seen some of the bad guys not say a lot, but then they get pissed, right? This case, Cassidy sends a gazillion. He's probably said more words than anybody, because he just is such a smart ass, and he's got a quip for everything. His timing's brilliant, but he slips up there. I mean, but you're right. He goes to see him, and I thought this was kind of funny, because this is where he gets to let his personality down. The bomb maker guy talking about stuff. He's got these weird eyes and mouth. That's all I can sit there and say. But you could just see Cassidy playing him like a fiddle here, and it's just so delicious. It's like, God, this guy is so good. He's not even trying. It's so effortless there too. And he shows in the manuscript, and you see the how to do something like 10 easy lessons or something stupid or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, you are serious. You really do want to publish it. And I thought, okay. But then he, not only does he poison him, he does something else that's a bit more bombastic, sir. What would that be?
He types up.
What does he type up? I'm mad about this. Go ahead, though.
He types up an outline. The outline to the novel that Mallory was writing, that was finishing up before.
Do you remember the title?
What is it? 60 miles to Saigon, something like that?
Saigon. And when he kills them, back then, because you didn't have cell phones, you'd have like a planner, you'd have a reel on your desk that would have your contact information, so you put your business cards and such. Sometimes you'd have a small pocket one you'd carry with you, write notes and stuff, an address book, right? So they clearly do the thing where they show in and says, Riley Greenleaf or what like that, with his manicured fingers with the with pointing to it and everything. And so I just assumed he ripped it out because then that way there'd be no connection between these two. I just thinking, oh, he's cleaning up the area because he does kind of clean up the area after whacking the guy because he's got the gloves on. Remember, he's smart. So I just thought he did that, but he doesn't. So at this point, I'm going, this is where I start getting a little confused about stuff, and then I get a little pissed at the end. But the typing up thing pisses me off, not because he types up the 60 miles to Saigon, which is like the outline for the novel that this guy supposedly owes him, and it has to complete in 3 weeks before he can go to the new publisher, and that's what the disagreement's about. He's got a great outer coat, though, man, in addition to that suit I mentioned earlier.
But it's not even that. He's not finishing it for Greenleaf. He wants to take it to the new publisher.
Right. And again, if you don't know all these things that's going on, you're like, what the fuck? Because when he writes on there by and he's got the guy's name on it, it's not centered space. That's off by like 2 characters. And I thought, wait a minute. It's so obvious to me that when they show that, when it says 60 Miles to Saigon by Eddie Kane, the bomber guy that he just poisoned, I'm like, wait a minute. If you're a professional, whatever, you wouldn't do that. So I don't know. It was a detail that really caught my eye, being somebody that worked in the print field for a little while as a graphic artist right out of college. Or during college, I said, there's no way that something like that would slip. And they keep showing it. So a little bit of a nitpick there. But I thought because of the level of detail they were going to have in this episode that something like that could match. And I will say this, while he's doing everything, he's smoking a cigarette because this is days you could smoke in every scene and nobody would kill you for having a cigarette in your mouth or if the ash would fall or anything. And when he goes to leave, it's not that the guy's poisoned. What happens?
It turns out his guide to making a bomb in 10 steps or less is very effective because that's what Cassidy does. He builds a bomb.
And this predates Fonzie from Happy Days living above the garage in the Cunningham's driveway, if you know what I'm saying. Did you catch that?
Well, yeah, no, I didn't think about that. Here's the thing, though. He also leaves one more key. I was thinking the same thing, but I knew that he did it whenever they went away from it. I didn't assume because they would show us something like that, right?
Right.
But so I knew that he left. Why would you leave something tying himself to you? And then I think this is where it goes. It just goes a little too far. He leaves behind also a key to the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's Eddie probably would have used. Maybe. Columbo, he does have another scene where he goes ahead. He meets the rival publisher and the agent, and they have a conversation.
Braless agent wearing red, Mariette Hartley, blonde babe from the 70s. They're very nice people.
They are. They take him to a nice restaurant, and what does he want?
He orders chili.
That's right. They figure out something. It's a good chili, but they wait too long to bring him ketchup, no crackers, and an iced tea, which all in all costs $6.75.
It bugs me. Look, I always love food in a movie or television show. I really do. There's something about it that's organic. And I love how elaborate it can be or something basic. But I want to see people smoking and drinking. I want to see people eating while they're talking and all that. It allows you to kind of be a bit human, do something with your hands, something kinesthetic, visual that you can do in addition to watching and listening, right? So it bugs me that some people are like, oh, that chili came out like in 1 minute. There's no way they would do that when they're in an uppity place and wouldn't be on the menu. Like, well, that's not necessarily true. And the end joke for all the retards out there that are huge Columbo fans, apparently I found out is the actual restaurant they're in is known for their chili. That's why when he said, oh, you don't have chili on your menu, it's like an inside joke. So they're popping themselves, which they would do in some of these. And this is the same place that made like 10 gallons of chili that got shipped off to what's her face, Burton's husband, Liz Taylor or whatever like that when they were filming over in Europe or some shit like that. I'm like, I don't really care, but they put stuff in there that to someone like you and I doesn't make sense other than, hey, he wants a bowl of chili. And to RDV's point, well, why does he always try to get stuff from people? It's like Sonny Crockett would never do that. Well, you're right, because it's a gift, it's a bribe. It shows that you can't do it. Here, the people are just being polite. They're really nice to him. There's no animosity. You're like, okay, this is kind of cool. This guy, you're like, is he going to die next? Because now we've got a double killer, right? We've never had a triple, I don't think.
Yeah, no. And the conversation is, I don't know. Something's bugging me about this scene. It's not the chili. It's not that. That's like.
Is that her red hat that she's wearing indoors matching her red outfit and blouse?
That
Because she
might
should
be
not be
bugging
wearing
me
the hat
too.
indoors, I would agree, but it's probably not that. What would it be, sir?
But the way that they're talking, like with Columbo, it doesn't feel organic. Not really. Not to me, anyway.
So this whole thing, you didn't like it, or you didn't understand it, or both?
No, I understand. He gets the information that, okay, well, Greenleaf definitely was at that party that night. And he goes ahead and asks them, so who do you think would frame him? Who could do that? Because I think he's being framed. That's what I think. And you know that he pretty much believes that. And then he gets a call. He goes over to Eddie's place, which is actually pretty put together still, despite a bomb going off in there. The paper that points to Riley Greenleaf is in there, and it connects it, and he's, oh, you're lucky, Lieutenant, because what does he find? 60 miles to Saigon. Saigon, God. And, yep, lucky is what it is. And then what we have is Cassidy watching a movie at home.
No. Hold right there, sir. Let me clear up the scene. So, again, this is a level of detail that we don't normally get, but when right before the original writer, Mickey Spillane, gets whacked, he's sitting there and he's dictating the story, right?
Yes.
So he talks about, the embrace of blah, 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 and going to Saigon. And then, of course, the shitty kind of writing. But how did he ever know he really could ever leave Saigon, right? So you're like, okay, this is some sort of trashy romance. So what they're talking about here at the table is that this Mariette Hartley chick, she was one of the insults that got thrown to this rival publishing company, even though they're a nice folk, it seems like, is like, you and your concubine. It's basically implying that, hey, you fucked them to get him to come over to your side, and you're a hot piece of ass, and that you're also fucking your boss. I mean, it's basically said but not said, because they can't say that. And she does dress kind of not 100% professional, but kind of stylish. It's so the whole thing about it too is he even goes on a rant about how sex is the only thing that really sells out there, and then he would know it, and that's how he took this guy writing crap and made him whatever. And they're like, no, we want him to write something good. They're taking the morally superior argument here, which, okay, whatever. I mean, the guy makes everything he's written's been a bestseller, and it's been smut. Why would you change that formula if you're a publisher? You wouldn't, which that doesn't make sense. So they're a little bit holier than now, but then you wonder, are they really because of her? Because what does a woman do when she's talking to you about an idea? She's not quite going to be your agent yet, but you guys have such a good personality. Has she banged him? But it's not really implied that it has. But she does basically sit there and say, well, hey, from the woman's perspective, I decided I wanted to have a happy ending. I thought his character that he told me about the story should not have died, but that instead he left and spent his time at a monastery. So right now, I don't give a shit about any of that, except for it's extremely crucial to the gotcha here coming up. You're right. This scene does seem, it feels forced. It feels not rushed, but just, come on, guys, relax a little bit. Have some wine. That's
right. You don't kill Rock Hudson for $100,000.
Yeah, and that's a line that they use in there, really popular at the time. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, he goes ahead, talks about
they're checking out the guy's apartment, and they did find a script, like you mentioned, and then you said he's in there with Cassidy, who's watching
yes
porn. He's watching porn, smoking a cigarette, and laughing.
He has, because he has his second setup, his second act, as it were, and he thinks that this is going to be it. This is going to wrap it up. He tries to deny it, but he actually has a copy of the outline to 60 miles to Saigon. Oh, it's in his vault. Oh, he had it locked away. Yeah, you can take it with you, detective. It may not have been ethical, but that looks like what's happened. And
but see how he downshifts emotionally here, and I swear he's doing such a great job of stringing Columbo along. This is fantastic to watch.
Yep. And then he goes over, shows the agent. The agent reads it. It looks like it was written by Alan himself. And
she makes the comment, it just sounds like somebody wrote it. Yeah, and it's Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he did. And then we get the contact lens, as it were. Columbo calls Cassidy to meet him over at the office that Mallory was shot at, and brings him in. There's some police in the hall, so Cassidy knows something's up.
But not before we see him cradling that gorgeous green old style phone, displaying his pinky ring, on a signet ring on his right finger with that houndstooth jacket on, and yet another turtleneck. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
So he goes over, and Columbo shows the key that was found at Eddie Kane's apartment, and it fits the door. It's a sounding really. Can you please call in Mr. Black? The locksmith comes in, and Columbo is like, I remember that I told somebody about this, and it was you. That's all. That's what I forgot. It was changed. It was changed before by Mallory, but Columbo had the locks changed again.
Which, I'll be honest, obviously, supposedly that happened. I just don't recall it, but I'm not saying it didn't.
I don't really recall that either, no.
Yeah, so like, what?
There's that. And at this point, he still doesn't consider it. No, that's astounding. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, he's great because he's getting irritated and he starts fucking yelling. I'm like, damn it! I wish more of these killers would go at Columbo like this. He's such a badass in this.
But then Black leaves, and he's going down the hall. And he's like, I've had enough to here with you, Lieutenant. And he's walking off, and Columbo pops his head out, and he says, "Oh crap, what's his name? Walport, Mr. Walport," and that causes Cassidy to pause.
That's your dopey little runner that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Pops out.
Thought the name might mean something to you. It turns out that the runner had been making copies and giving them to Cassidy.
Yes.
All along.
Because he's evil.
Yeah. And he was getting $1,000 a month out of it. So, but Columbo goes up to the guy and he's like, listen, you're not involved in a murder right now. He's trying to involve you in a murder. And he's like, listen, I just did it. I was just running in between. And
Columbo, in his usual affable way, proving once again that police can lie, cheat, steal, to do whatever they want to get you arrested and violate your civil liberties. But you know what? I'm gonna keep lighthearted on this one.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker, because that's not even the kicker there. Yes, I went ahead. That doesn't prove anything. And Columbo says, here's the thing. The outline that he had. You said that you got that about a year ago, something like that. But the ending was only made last week. Not even Mallory knew the ending until last week because his agent came up with it. Can you explain that? And there's just this look on defeat. At that point, Greenleaf knows he's up. And that's the end. It's a fucking contact lens. We had no idea that this runner, he was involved in an element, but we had no idea about anything extra. That on top of the key, which I don't recall him ever saying to the locksmith, change the locks, or even saying to a sergeant. Because I'm trying to go back into my mind to the beginning of the episode with him. And I don't remember anything about that either. It's one convenience after another. And it's a little frustrating. The performance of this episode is undeniable. This is great performance-wise. And it's absolutely entertaining. But those little things are going to bug you.
Yeah, so the whole idea is that, and just to be clear, we did not mention this earlier, but just to make sure everybody understands it. So he's got a guy under contract for him that's supposed to leave in a couple weeks. He's wanting this guy's manuscript to be finished. So he's basically trying to steal it in a way. And he's got it, basically, and he can publish it post-haste. They introduce the insurance thing, but don't say anything about it. I don't really recall the lock thing. It could be there. I could go back and look for it, and I chose not to. I don't know his motivations. Why would you kill a guy that's leaving you when you got his stuff and get insurance anyway? Makes no sense. You got a great lawyer that's introduced earlier. Makes no sense. Yes, we leave a lot out. We know a lot of Columbo stuff. We go, hey, even with what Columbo says, most of these people are going to get out. But he also, as a business, rented a facility that he owned that this writer used to go in there and do his work. That's how he was able to have a key, because he was also the landlord, and he had changed it a few weeks earlier. And so Columbo changes it, which is the only reason why the guy could get in, but the door was open because the AC had went out, which we didn't know. But the only thing we knew was that Columbo saw a window open, and he explains the cross breeze. And like, okay, I get all that. What the fuck does this have to do with the key? And it has to do with the fact that there was the old switcheroo there, because the lady had mentioned how if she changed it to a more positive ending, that might be better. And he did it, and you wouldn't know that unless he had the copy of it originally. So it could only be the possible that you could have had that in your safe there that you admitted to having, even unethically, even if not illegally, because you killed the guy, and that's it. I might be missing something, but that's a lot. That's more than a contact lens. They're going, what the fuck? You Robert Coltby, and you give me a contact lens? You give me Jack Cassidy, and you give me a key? What the hell?
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy this episode, and that's because of Cassidy, and then you have just Columbo, and they're enjoyable. Everything else kind of falls flat. And you know what? That's what bothers me so much about going back to that scene in the restaurant. I don't care about those people at all. Their performance is nothing to me. The Mallory, his whole thing about I want to write something good for these people, not for you. I'm done. I don't care. I want to watch Jack Cassidy, and that's what I got. So that I can enjoy, but the rest of this just kind of falls flat, and that's really the problem. But all in all, I still think it's a fine episode because of how good Cassidy is in this.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, he carries it, and I think whenever you don't have to pay attention to Columbo, the episodes are usually like a notch better in terms of their entertainment value. Now, again, I've said before, you can like something and it not be fun, vice versa. This is a case where I don't think this episode's a lot of fun. I have fun watching Jack Cassidy, but that's because of Jack Cassidy, not because of the strength of the writing in this episode. And honestly, we don't have to have the gotcha to be the what you remember about the episode, or how great he pulled it off, or all the bullshit inconsequential details that add up to one big thing that we don't see coming, or we see it coming and the joy is watching the murderer unravel, or somebody like Culp just kind of downplay it, or the approach that the guest actor murderer does in his, because you got to go, how am I going to set myself apart here? This is the script that I'm given, but how do I play this guy? Do they allow me to do anything with it, or do I have to do it like how the director says? Because you have different directors, different writers, so these things can vary a bit. And that's why I said before at the beginning, this is not a very pleasant episode to visually watch, whereas I've commented before on, especially more like in season 1, where they made more of the surrounding town of LA a fixture in it, whether it was at the music place or the football game or some other things too. Here you can definitely tell there's a few office buildings. We don't even get a swinging scene of Bachelor Pad where we get to see how cool the house is, which is kind of neat, because man caves aplenty in the 70s and the 80s and their own versions and stylish stuff. That's kind of cool and that's fun. And we want the episode to be fun, because at the end of the day, we don't think of Columbo as being that, I'm going to shoot you and kill you kind of thing, because they don't show violence like that, right? They never actually show the bullet hitting and all that. I applaud them for that. But at the same time, too, let's have a little fun, not because you put a fucking basset hound in there, or it's because constantly polite to everybody. I get all that. But let the guy run with it. Don't straddle him with something as convoluted as like 3 or 4 different fucking ways that this guy's got to figure out and all that. Even Cassidy, as great as he is, barely can pull this off. And, I know a lot of people think this is the best episode or one of the better ones. I'm really leaning towards the end of there's no way I can do that based on some of the other stuff that we have, because it's just more fun. And I'm like, Cassidy, yes, and you're right. We don't care about these people. They're okay, they're fine, but they're just there. Okay, we're having a restaurant scene where he can make them look like buffoons. We got that recently. I don't need to see it again for many more episodes. Give me something else that's supposed to be cute or comic relief. Something different. something anachronistic, something that's not popping yourself and that you wouldn't know anything about if you didn't read it, like chili. Yeah, you look like an idiot going to a fucking restaurant that doesn't have prices on the menu, and you ask for something off menu, and you get shocked that you're gonna have to pay so goddamn much for it. That's just stupid. He's not a dumb guy. He's really not. And so it's just kind of insulting in a way, because then they throw this overly elaborate ending at us. And like I say, Cassidy, I hope your third one, because I think you're in 3 of them, it's better than this one. I think he's a magician or something. But I think his performance is great. I don't have a problem with the bomb guy. But the Mariette Hartley thing, I have to mention this as we close up. I really felt like after season 1 and some of season 2, we were getting some interesting take on killers and something with the women stuff. The sexy, powerful woman kind of thing, or feminist type of views that we've got in some of these episodes. I don't know what the hell's going on, if it's been a writer strike or what. I ain't getting shit. I'm getting nothing. Okay, this guy's a bit of a sleaze guy and likes his porn. Okay, he's kind of harmless to me. What's the big deal? I liked seeing some stuff with a strong woman. And here we get Mariette Hartley, who's a nice lady, and she's been a lot of stuff for a long time. You've seen her around if you watch a lot of 60s, 70s TV, and maybe I think 80s as well. You could utilize her more. You could have something that makes more sense here rather than that. But I don't know. Anytime I can see Jack Cassidy take a screwdriver and scratch up his car and go, what the hell's that for? Oh, because you're going to fake being drunk and get in a car accident. So after you admit to basically killing, but you can't really say you are, and your lawyer gets you off, then they can do it. I love it. But this ending sucks.
Yeah, the ending does suck. There's a lot of good parts of it, but the ending does let it down. Especially after the fantastic ending we had last week.
Yeah.
That tear down his cheek.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Season 3, Episode 5, Publish or Perish, starring the great Jack Cassidy in it here in Columbo. Stay tuned as we deliver Season 3, Episode 6 next week. That'll be interesting as we close out Season 3 here on the Xtreme Movie Show for Professor Greg. So, what?
Don't we have like 3 more episodes of Season 3?
Yeah, we got a couple more.
Okay.
So closing out does not mean final.
Oh, okay.
Well, and the other thing too is movie of the week type of things that we mentioned this a couple seasons ago. It's not like a 22 to 26 episode thing, which is typical standard TV fare at the time. So yeah, they're definitely going to vary as we get into the 80s. In a year or two from now, there'll be a lot more big amounts and small amounts of episodes is all I can say for whatever reason. So there you have it, guys. Check it out. It's on Tubi, I think, is where you saw it.
Yep.
There's a Columbo channel on YouTube that has them. There's
Some
also
Peacock
the Columbo I have to pop. What's that?
Some Peacock as well.
On the cock, absolutely. Everything's on the cock, right? And it's in glorious HD vision or whatever. Good night now.
Good night.